Yo, can you hear me? Hey, can you hear me okay?
Oh, I can't hear you. That's weird. Nope, can't hear you. Hmm. Why is the internet strange?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, we did
I
it.
must I
Okay.
was probably talking for like 5 minutes and people were like, they can't hear you. Where's we gotta find this chat box. Okay.
Over here. I found it.
I'm turning on the chat box. Oh, that's share screen. Here's a chat box. If you guys can hear us,
Yeah,
say that you can hear us.
that's me. I'm just saying hi because I wanted to
Yo.
say hi in the chat box.
Yeah, sweet.
Oh, that's
Yo,
good.
I have like 50 questions here.
I'm
I
stoked. Bring it on.
I put out a request in our chat, and we got a ton of questions. So,
Great.
we're gonna
Awesome.
rapid fire this. I want to check Instagram quick, Snapchat to see if we got any from there. We got one on Twitter. So yeah, just bear with us for a second, guys. A bunch of stuff for you today, and I just want to make sure everyone knows that we're on. If you're watching this and you can hear us, say what's up in the chat box and let us know where you're watching from. If you can't hear us, say you can't hear us.
Or maybe just type it, don't say it, because then we can't hear you. Too funny. Cam, you're going to Tanzania.
Yeah, that's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, no kidding.
And a lot of fun. I'm really excited. I've never been to Africa before.
Me neither. You're gonna beat me there.
Every year, I don't know if you do this, but every year I kind of look at like areas of the world I haven't been to yet and to go this year. And so this year for me, like Africa was the place. Last year was the place, and looking forward to next year, maybe India, probably.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. How do you pick where you go?
A lot of it has to do with like who do I want to visit? Because I am just like you, lucky enough to have really focused on building relationships, even if it was just online at first. So it might be that like I have a bunch of people that I do want to actually meet in person finally, and then I'll go there. Or it might just be a region, kind of like what you said with Africa. For me, that's Eastern Europe right now, and I'm super excited. I just got my flight confirmation for a little trip to Europe that I'm doing in October, and I'm going to go to Prague. So I'm super excited about that. Yeah, super excited.
I love Prague. You're gonna love Prague.
You DJ'd in Prague, I remember.
Yeah, yeah, that was an adventure.
Didn't you like lose your bag too or something? I forget.
No, but I did have to. So the story was that I ended up DJing at this club in Prague, and that night I was supposed to catch a train to Poland, and I was DJing in Europe, and I was like, this is the most amazing thing ever. And so I kept pushing it back, like, oh, one more song, one more song, one more song. And then next thing you know, it's like, okay, I literally need to like grab my bag right now and chase after this train because I'm going to miss it. And so it was more that like I was running through the streets of Prague, carrying this huge suitcase, just running like a madman. And that's one of the fun, I don't know if you find this, but I find people are running with a roller bag behind them because you can't really like full stride it. So it's like, you look like a bit of a chicken. You're just like running, but
not exactly the most elegant thing ever, but it's necessary. So just bust.
That's a much more articulate way of saying it. It's not very elegant.
It's just not elegant, Cam. And I know that you strive for elegance in your life. So
elegance is my middle name. Okay, so let's jump in. Ginger, you've been the star of some of our YouTube videos. So people are somewhat familiar with you, but for those who haven't seen your YouTube videos, share with our audience kind of like who you are and what the Traveler's Mindset is all about.
Totally, glad to. So my name's Ginger Kern, and right now I'm based in Denver, Colorado. I'm just moved here from Boulder, actually, and I run the Traveler's Mindset. I'm the founder of it. It's an online platform that helps Americans specifically, but people in general, travel abroad, either for the first time or for the first time authentically, to really connect with the people in their destination, with the destination itself, not just do the surface level type travel that we're so used to hearing about. So the traveler's mindset, as you might guess, is actually about the mindset of travel too. So for me, that means openness, curiosity, and a sense of adventure. And that is totally valid no matter where you are in the world. And that's really what I get super stoked about. It's like, how can we create people who are adventurous in all of their aspects of life, not just when they're traveling? Yeah.
Why do you think that that's so important that people go travel?
Well, it forces you to confront the fact that you're not always right. And if you get to confront the fact that you're not always right, you get to discover what else is possible in the world and what else is possible for you in your life. So for example, like if I were going to go to, or if I went to France, which I've been there a couple different times, and I noticed that the people there don't necessarily have the same rhythm of their work days, or like the same breakneck speed of ambition and drive and like get shit done as Americans do, I might start questioning, like, hang on, these people seem to be doing something different and it's working out great for them. Like, how can I actually take a look at what I'm doing and incorporate some of what they're doing into my own life? So that's where the openness actually is a foundational element. You have to be open to it. And that's a transformational aspect of travel that I know you've experienced as well. Just kind of seeing what else is out there, what else is possible, you know, what might I be missing? So,
Right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And, you know, for you guys watching this, being able to expand your perspective is so crucial, because when you expand your perspective, it shows you what's truly possible. And we live, this guy, Josh, shared, he's a 13-year-old, he shared a case study for Game Quitters last week. And the big thing he talked about was how important it was to get outside of your house, because when you're inside your house, you're just so used to kind of seeing the same things over and over and over again. You get to see kind of like what else is out there in the world. Now, just leaving your home is one thing, but leaving your city, leaving your province, state, country, going to all these new places, you just get to experience so much more of what the world is really all about, not just kind of see every day and what you're comfortable with. And so travel for me has been like a huge breakthrough experience, and I can't recommend it enough. So Ginger, where was the first place you went? How did you start traveling? And tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. So the first place I don't actually remember, because I was only 18 months old, and my mom took me over to Scotland to visit my great-grandmother, Catherine. And yeah, I wish I remembered it, because I like don't remember her as a person, but I was a surprise for her, surprise visit from her great-granddaughter. Now that was pretty special, but like I said, I wasn't really present for that. But the first experience abroad that I was really, really present for and like totally blew my mind was when I was 13 and took a 2-week trip with my family to visit extended family in Munich and go down to Austria to like really just like get immersed in the culture there. And what was so wonderful to me was that, like, and you know this too, and anyone else who's listening or watching who has traveled knows this, it's like the second you're in that new place, everything is just heightened. Your senses are heightened. Your smell, like the sense of smell even, is heightened. You notice details that you would never notice at home. And you just are in this like sponge state where you're just absorbing everything. And it's super stimulating. So like as a 13-year-old, thinking about what like my normal go-to, I guess, things for fun were, it was a lot of like book reading. I mean, you know me, I was a huge bookworm. I wasn't a gamer. I was like the opposite and like total nerd in my own way. Like huge bookworm. Or I was like playing ultimate frisbee. What?
I said total nerd, and then my screen just like shrieked and cut out.
Oh, well, you're back now,
Good.
so
Yeah, we're
welcome
good.
back. No worries. So that really was the experience that like tipped me off to the fact that there's something else out there that I can actually go and explore. I can have adventures too. It's not just for like the characters that I was reading about in my books. Like I actually had access to that, and I could create opportunities for myself to like make travel possible. So yeah.
That's awesome. So for you guys watching this right now, if you guys have traveled before and where your favorite country has been, and I'm going to bring this back to Ginger. Ginger, what is your favorite country?
Everyone always asks me this question, Kim. Oh, it's so hard to choose because there's so many great places out there. Okay, so sometimes I answer whatever's top of mind in the moment, and sometimes I answer from like different perspectives. So I'm going to tell you three answers. Okay, my first top favorite country is New Zealand. And New Zealand is just, first of all, like gorgeous. Like if you like Lord of the Rings, you will love New Zealand because it is Middle Earth, point blank. Second, New Zealand is at the end of the world. You're literally hours ahead of the rest of the world. So it actually has this feeling of like, of this really cool isolation that you can have this peace of mind because the rest of the world is like literally still asleep. So it feels different. Like it feels slower, calmer. There's just nature everywhere. They have more sheep than people. It's an island. Like I could go on. It's just a really cool feeling to actually like be there. So the other two countries that come to mind, one of them is Switzerland because it's also just as gorgeous as New Zealand is. But they have people speaking all sorts of languages in one tiny little country. And to me, that's super cool because I speak German, some French, and a tiny bit of Italian. So my brain gets super stimulated being in a place like Switzerland where everyone's like, you know, going back and forth, switching all the time. They're just so excited, or like I'm so excited to be able to understand them, first of all, but they're excited to speak with foreigners as well. So it's this cool like interchange of they're already used to multiculturalism. They're already used to having a lot of expatriates, a lot of international workers coming and living there. So it's just a cool place to travel around in, and it's a little expensive, but we'll talk about money saving tips and hacks later on today.
So when you travel, what's the main thing that you end up doing? One of the questions we got from the Stop Gaming chat, shout out to all of you guys, by the way. Do you like to go to the beach? Do you like to go to museums, shopping? Do you like to do work-related things? What do you like to do most when you go travel?
Okay, great question, first of all. A lot of people ask me this too because they want to do stuff that's either off the beaten path or I guess more authentic, right? What I normally do the first hour, 2 hours that I actually arrive in a new place is take a walk on foot. I'll literally like head out the door. I might not even know where I'm going. I might have a map or I might not. But regardless, like I'll just like go because I find that number one, it gets me really grounded in what are the cultural norms? Like how are people acting? How are people treating each other, talking to each other? Are people really loud, quiet? Do people jog on the streets or not? I'll just go for a walk and see the sights from that really kind of surface level perspective. And then if I see something that sounds really interesting, or I pass something that, you know, makes me think, oh, I should go back to it, I'll make a note of it, whether it's like on my smartphone or I'll literally just write it down in a travel journal. And then I'll actually look that up once I'm back home and go back to it. So that's normally what I do to like start, because then you get your you get your grounding, basically, get your bearings. So do you do that? I'm kind of curious, actually.
Yeah, so what I do, the first thing is that when I travel, my life doesn't really change much depending on the city or country I'm in.
Right.
So regardless of where I am, I usually wake up, have breakfast, go to a coffee shop, work for a bit, have lunch, work for a bit, and then kind of hang out. So that doesn't matter if I'm in San Diego or Bali or Singapore or Berlin. Wherever I am, my lifestyle tends to stay the same. Always searching for like, mission number one is where is a coffee shop that is dope. And a coffee shop for me is like my grounding. It's a place where, you know, coffee shops are kind of consistent no matter where you are in the world. The coffee might be a bit different, but the environment is very similar. So I really look for that. And for me, it's usually, I don't really look for museums. I don't really care much about museums personally. But what I do try to find is like, if I'm living like a local, if I'm a local in that city, in that country,
Exactly.
where do I go? So I'm usually looking for like, what's the local coffee shop? What's the local restaurant? Where are the cool local spots to hang out? What hikes are the locals going on? As much as I can be around locals, the better, because that's a more authentic experience.
Right.
And I really try to get as far, away from normal like tourists as possible.
Yeah, and that's also a fun thing to do is like, okay, you see where all the tourists are, now head the opposite direction, keep your
Yeah.
map in your backpack or whatever you're carrying, and just walk, and you'll stumble on amazing stuff. Like you said, restaurants. That's something I love to do when I visit a new place is I want to explore the food because number one, it's delicious normally, and number two, it tells you a lot about the culture itself. So you get that really like deep perspective really quickly, and you get to taste some really nice stuff along the way. So. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love like just walking a direction and just kind of following my instinct, my intuition, the energy, whatever you want to call it, where it's like, oh, I'm going to turn down this road and go around this corner,
Yeah.
and oh, this place looks kind of interesting.
And that alley looks
we did that when we were
we
did that when we were in Tijuana, and we were just looking for lunch, and we were like, oh, like let's pop into this place, and the place was like obviously the local lunch spot because it was packed. And I've just seen so many cool spots just following my kind of instinct in that way.
Totally.
And it's cool because then you associate these different places to adventures that you've been on. And just to give some value to you guys watching this, you don't have to travel to do this. You can just area in your city right now and go explore, go turn down different roads and go check out different parks, and you don't need Pokemon Go to do it. You can just do it. And that if you were living like a local in your city, or if you were living like a traveler in your city, where are all the coolest spots that you could go to? Where's the sweet kind of sunset spots or beaches or parks or hikes or coffee shops? Like find those spots in your own city and you'll have a better experience in your city. So I like that. And then just to come back to a question that we got in New Zealand. So
yeah,
you must really like flying.
I do like flying. Why do you ask?
Someone asked us, do you like the flying part? And I can say,
I see.
I do not like flying.
Yeah.
Flying's probably my least favorite part of traveling. I love trains and I love cars, but put me on a plane and I just feel like, my roommate and I were talking about this the other day, it's like being a bit trapped, where you can't go anywhere. It's like time stops for a couple hours and then you can resume life. So I personally don't like flying part. Yeah.
That's probably because you're way more type A than I am. I would think that's probably why. Because for me, I actually like that time stops. I like that I have to sit there. Well, not necessarily sit there for the 8 hours or 10 hours, whatever, but that like I don't necessarily have internet, that I actually can read an entire book in one sitting, or I can listen to like 40 podcasts. I don't know, right? Like you make it up and you do whatever you want to fill that time. But I actually am a person who can sleep pretty well on planes with the help of a pretty heavy duty like sleep mask, which are awesome and everyone should totally get one. You look super nerdy and it works. So that's cool.
I used to make fun of Ginger a lot for her sleep mask, by the way. And now I have a sleep mask and I love it. So sleep masks are awesome.
Yeah, and I would say one thing about like sound, because a lot of people can't sleep because of the noise. Either use the noise canceling headphones, like really good ones, or you can just try out, see if it works for you, wax earplugs that swimmers use for when they're diving or swimming. I find that those are way, way better than the foam ones, and they actually stay in and like block way more noise. So yeah, that's like, those are the two things that I always use to just really sleep. And if you want to, you can play around with like a tiny bit of taking some melatonin, because that's like what your body naturally produces when you're going to sleep. Now, I'm totally not a doctor, so like just check it out, see what would work for you. But it is super natural, and a lot of people use it in like really small amounts, because if you use larger amounts, then you end up being really drowsy, and that's no fun. So yeah.
Yeah. I definitely, on longer flights, I take sleeping pills, and that's just how I roll. So are you more of like a window seat person, middle
Window
seat
seat.
person?
100% window seat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
we
I don't.
can't sit next to each other.
No, we can't. It's okay. We'll just have to deal. But what I do like is like the takeoff. Like about flying, I don't love flying because like again, I'm on the same page as you. It's just sort of that in between space. Even though it's nice, it's not like my ideal. I'd rather teleport if that were possible. But sitting by the window, I love that feeling of takeoff and landing because you get to see like the earth drop away from you, and then everything's just quiet, and it's just a nice feeling. So yeah, that's what there's for me when I think about that.
Sweet. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a couple rapid fire questions, and then we're going to get into some of the logistics of travel that people are asking. So,
Yeah.
what's the most beautiful country you've been to? Is it New Zealand or is it somewhere else?
Oh man. I think I do have to say New Zealand. A close second is Thailand, but for very different reasons. It has just this like diversity, this biodiversity that New Zealand doesn't have in certain ways. But yeah, New Zealand is still top of my list. So
Okay. And then, what national dish have you liked the most?
okay. Wow. So like my brain had all of this like visual stuff going on right there. I don't know if you can tell. So I'm a visual learner, right? I think there's like a tie between this delicious Colombian soup that's so simple. It's got like corn and potatoes, and like you put like a dollop of sour cream in it, and there's like some spices, and I don't even know how the rest of it's made, and then you put capers on top. But that is bomb. That is delicious. Then on the other side of the spectrum, French cuisine is very heavy sometimes. And one of the heavier dishes that I really like that's in the wintertime is actually tartiflette. And tartiflette, I can type it in here if you're curious. Tartiflette.
Can you guys see the chat? If you guys can see the chat, say something in the chat just to say hey. You might have to turn the chat on. I'm not sure how this works exactly, but
I think you have to click the little blue chat button on the upper left-hand corner if you want to see that. But yeah, tartiflette is the super, I can say it again, it'll make you laugh. Tartiflette. It's potatoes and cheese and some onions and some, it's called lardons, which are like little pork pieces, and you like fry it all up and then you bake it. So you can imagine it's like perfect for winter when you're super cold and super hungry. But like it's so heavy, it's incredible. Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay,
Next
and
question.
then
Bring it on.
have you? Okay, I'm going to ask this one first. What's the craziest thing that you've seen in a store abroad?
Oh, that's a good question. I have to think about that one. I do love going to grocery stores in general, though. I'll say that much. Like that is a travel hack it's going to save you money. It's going to like have you get a more authentic experience. You'll discover brands that you've never heard of, like different little like candies and stuff that you just will not find at home. So that's a lot of fun. Weirdest or craziest though? Okay, so here's one thing. It's not maybe the craziest thing, but it's kind of crazy. So in Southeast Asia, there's the opposite view of what like nice skin should look like as there is in America, right? So, or Canada. Like we think, okay, we've got to be tan, we've got to be nice and bronzed or whatever. Like you live in San Diego, I'm sure you love building up your tan. That's like literally the opposite of a lot of Southeast Asian and South Asian cultures as well. They actually have products that will bleach your skin. So skin whiteners, so like face cream, any type of body lotion, even deodorant will have bleach in it. It's literally trying to like bleach their skin to like make themselves whiter, because that's like the opposite of us making ourselves tanner. So it's just, I don't know, lots of chemicals for some sort of a beauty ideal that we made up. And that's kind of crazy to me, but yeah.
Yeah,
Does
that's
that answer
pretty
the
weird.
question? It's kind of weird.
I think it counts. When you're talking about bleaching your skin, I think that counts.
Yeah. Not
okay,
fun.
and then last rapid fire question. Get into some like practical, how do you travel kind of stuff.
Sure.
A last minute flight with no planning. of where you would spend the night the next day. And then
Sorry,
I'm going to answer this afterwards.
can you repeat the question? It cut out a little bit.
Have you ever taken a last-minute flight with no planning of where to stay the night before or the next night?
I have taken a last-minute train and no planning and no idea where I was going to stay. And I decided at 9 a.m. that morning after staying out dancing until 3 the previous evening. So I hope that counts. The flight part, I do have like a little bit more of a threshold where I say, okay, I want to have at least that first night figured out. But let me tell you about the train experience. Apparently, someone is ringing the doorbell at this place that I'm house sitting for. It's kind of crazy. This has not happened. So I was in Bonn in Germany, which is in Northwest Germany, and I decided, spur of the moment, like this was back in 2009 when I was studying abroad, I want to go to Holland, I want to go through Utrecht, and I want to go to Amsterdam. And I'm going to do this. And I had never been like alone in another city, first of all. I'd only ever taken one solo train travel trip, and that involved like 8 train changes way back when. This is like going down to southern Germany to visit a friend. So I hopped on a train 9 in the morning, arrived in Amsterdam like 3 hours later, and I didn't have a map. I knew no one in the city. I didn't have any idea of where I was going to stay that night. And what did I do? Like, I just started walking. Like I said, I told you guys this earlier. Literally like walked into a hotel, asked for a map. I didn't have, like, I wasn't using a smartphone or didn't have one back then. I can't remember. And I was like, okay, well, what am I going to explore today? I better find a place to stay before the night hits because that would be uncomfortable. Not impossible, but uncomfortable. And yeah, I definitely found a hostel that was on like the outskirts of the touristy sort of center, booked that place for that night. And then I actually went to a couch surfing meetup. So for those of you guys who haven't heard of it, couchsurfing.com is like a really great way to, I mean, you know this, Ken, you've done it, to like stay with travelers and host travelers for free. So it's like Airbnb, but you don't pay any money. And there's more of a cultural exchange that's built into the mix where you're actually like hanging out with someone and maybe cooking a meal together or like going to see a show together or whatever. So you actually make a friend and you get a free place to stay, which both things sound awesome to me. And I've been couch surfing and hosting since about 2008. So I decided to go to a couch surfing meetup, city meetup in Amsterdam, where I found, I made friends with 3 Swedes that I ended up road tripping to Belgium with 2 days later. And I met this amazing, amazing Dutch couch surfer who basically started couch surfing. He's literally called the godfather of couch surfing. By the media, like you can look him up. His name's Ramon Stoplenberg. And yeah, just amazing connections, like super fun experience hanging out with those people. And that was just all on a whim at 9 o'clock in the morning. So yeah.
Yeah, the first time, you'll remember this, the first time I went to Amsterdam, I arrived without having a place to stay. And I was just taking
I guess
a train.
It's just Amsterdam then.
You know, but like you just figure it out. And I think things I just want to kind of mention is like the amazing thing about travel is it forces you to have to experience challenges in your life and to grow from them.
Exactly.
Yeah, it could be, you could feel really anxious about getting into a town without anywhere to stay. And that's okay because you can deal with that. You can figure that out. Like it's not like you're going to have to end up sleeping outside, although worst thing in the world, I think you would survive. And so for me, I remember the first time I went to Amsterdam, I didn't have a place to stay and I just found a hostel and it all worked out. So the next question someone had was like, when you travel, where do you stay?
Got it. So it could be with a couch surfing host, definitely. Like I always try to do that. Actually, one of the more recent trips that I took to Puerto Rico earlier this year, I actually tried to find couch surfing hosts to stay with, but that didn't work out. They have a like smaller pool of people there who are active. But in that case, like I'll stay in a hostel. I'll book like a private room in a hostel so that I can get that solid sleep. I used to do those like big dorm bunks. That was in my early 20s. And I just really didn't care like who was around, you know, and had some kind of bad experiences when a bunch of like mid-30s French and Italian men would just like come in super drunk at 4 a.m. And I was over that pretty fast. So ended up actually raising my standards, or whatever you want to call it, changing my perspective. And actually now I either couch surf, stay in hostels, or stay in Airbnbs. And of course, this doesn't count staying with friends. I love, love, love staying with friends. That is like by far the best way to travel.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I totally agree. By the way, guys, I can finally see the chat. Ginger, I'm going to send this to you. Check this out.
Oh,
we
nice.
found the chat.
Great. Where's the chat?
We finally found the chat.
No way.
It's in a different window.
No way.
Ginger and I were like
where are
watching
you
this thing. Guys, I'm like, wow, there's so many comments.
Oh my God.
Okay, let's just address some of these quick.
Holy crap.
We see Netherlands, Greece. We see, Stop Gaming in here. We see Toronto, Canada. I'll be in Toronto in September. So if you email me, you can go gamequeers.com/contact and say, hey, when I'm in Toronto in a couple weeks.
Patrick, I am not choosing to go to Slovakia this time, but it is on my list. Believe me.
Yeah, Philip is in here. We hung out in Germany. That was a lot of fun.
Nice. Awesome.
So awesome to have you guys with us. Okay, so when I travel, as much as I can with friends. And the reason is because it's a lot cheaper. First of all, you save a lot of money.
Yep.
And you just get a more local experience. I have been to Poland. Poland is one of my favorite countries in the world, and I will come back there. I might even host the Game Quitters live event in Europe, in Poland, just for you guys. So love my Poland members. And Willie, I see your question, and I'll get in there in a minute. But when I travel, I really like to try to stay with friends, and it saves a lot of money. It makes it a lot cheaper, and Ginger's going to touch on that here in a minute.
Totally.
And you just get a better experience overall, and you deepen your relationships, right? Like when you stay with someone, you develop a bond. And I just had a friend staying here with me.
FaceTime. Yeah. Oh, you had my roommate stay with you, Jordan.
Yeah, Ginger's roommate was staying with me here in San Diego, and we developed a better relationship because we had time to hang out. So, yeah, I really like to stay with friends. If you don't know people in other cities, I will come back to the Netherlands as well. Definitely, I love the Netherlands. If you don't have friends in other cities, like Ginger said, couchsurfing.com is a really good place to go. And you can also check out meetups, and hostels are another option. So if you don't know people, you can definitely check out hostels. Hostels are a good spot.
Totally. One other thing I would put out there is like, you don't necessarily have to start out by having friends everywhere. What you can do is just look for groups that you would normally like hang out in close to home, or like pick an activity, hopefully something other than gaming if you guys are trying to quit, that you can like get on board with meeting people around. So for me, that's salsa. I'm a big dancer. I know that pretty much everywhere, every major city I go to in the world, I will be able to find a group of people who love dancing salsa. So I might do that through meetup.com. I might do that through couchsurfing.com. I might just Google like salsa Argentina, right? You think, okay, I'll go to Argentina for tango, but no, actually, if you go to like a large city, there's going to be Lindy Hop, there's going to be any sort of like major like dance style. And that's actually also a great opportunity to like challenge yourself by taking classes, even if it's in a foreign language. If it's centered around something like dance or something that's physical, you're going to learn it because you can watch the people around you doing it. And that's a great way to meet people as well.
Yeah, okay, so we have a couple questions here. One is, what if you lack the confidence and social skills to actually go travel and to get in contact with people?
I love that question. So let me address like maybe where that comes from first, because back when I had never done a trip alone, I was nervous. I was not confident. I didn't trust myself to be able to handle it. I felt awkward because I didn't speak the languages. I wasn't always fluent in German. Like the only language that I have like grown up with is English, right? So that lack of confidence, like I totally can relate to. And if you know that where you are right now and where you want to be are not the same places, like there's a gap between that, then all there is to do is actually play in that gap. And it might be as simple as literally seeing your life as a game, and like literally seeing your experience in life. Can't wait to take a picture.
We're just taking a picture of you sharing knowledge.
Awesome. I love it. Literally, like for me, I had to choose consciously to push myself outside of that little boundary that I had myself in of, oh, I can't do this by myself, or I can't go on a train by myself because I'll mess it up, I'll miss the train, I'll get lost. I had to consciously choose, despite the fear and the voice that was talking at me inside of my head, to just stay put, that I was going to do something. And that even though I didn't know how it was going to turn out, I was there to like play the game, just like play the game of life, whatever that meant to me. So if you don't have the confidence now, take an action and like literally just ignore the voice that's going on in your side, inside your head, because you'll find that the voice that talks at you isn't real. It's not reality. And if you guys don't know what I mean by the voice inside your head, I'm not talking about crazy voices. I'm talking about the voice that like evaluates what's going on, critiques, judges, that sort of thing. Okay.
Yeah, and this really helped me with that. Changing the relationship I have to challenge from a thing that is something that holds me back to something that's an opportunity for me to grow. So the way that you develop confidence is through taking a bit of action, baby steps if you need to, and through that, you'll be able to become a lot more confident. So I see, traveling solo is so intimidating, and I understand that. So before you go travel solo, try just going for lunch by yourself. Try going on a small road trip, drive 2 hours or go a couple hours away, and maybe do a camping trip by yourself. Do something on your own where you're able to develop more of that independence in a small way and baby step your way there. I used to do road trips, and I remember at one point I was super nervous about going for lunch by myself, and to Costa Rica, and it was my first time traveling by myself to a foreign country, and I totally failed. But from that, I took the opportunity to learn from it and to then go to Europe. And when I went to Europe, that really helped me a lot because it was the first time in my life where I traveled by myself and I succeeded. So yeah, that really helped. Willie, you can sign up for the forum tomorrow. That's no problem. Okay, Ginger, a question about languages.
Yeah.
Overcome the language barrier.
How do I overcome the language barrier? Okay, so fun story about this. I was in Thailand like 3 years back, and the girlfriend that I was traveling with had a bad case of food poisoning on one day. So I decided to just go out. And of course, I didn't just leave her at home. She told me, like, Ginger, go out, have fun, like, I'll be fine. So I left her and went to rent a pair of like snorkeling equipment and a small kayak, and literally was like paddling out into this bay. Wanted to go and snorkel because it was gorgeous weather. It was like the perfect clear water. And I realized, like, okay, there's like 20 feet, 30 feet full of sea urchins that will sting me and poison me. And I can't walk close to the shore, so I have to stay in my kayak. So I have to stay in deep water with my kayak, but I want to snorkel. How do I solve this problem? Okay, there's some fishing boats over there with some dudes on the fishing boats here in Thailand. Maybe, just maybe, they'll let me tie my kayak to their boat. But how the hell am I going to communicate that? I do not speak Thai. I speak like maybe 20 words of Thai. I can count to 5. I can order things. I can say how much. Please, thank you, hello, goodbye. That's it. I do not know how to say, excuse me, sir, I would like to tie my kayak to your fishing boat so that I can snorkel. Can you help me? I don't know how to say that. So what I did was I actually like paddled over to them, right? And like all of the whole time my voice in my head is going like, oh my God, this is so scary. Like, what if they hate you because you're a foreigner or something? Like, what if they don't understand? They can't help you. So I paddle over and I start, like I say hello in Thai, so sawadee ka, and then they come over and they're like talking at me in Thai, and I'm like, my Thai, like I don't speak Thai, like no Thai. obviously. So I started motioning to like tie a rope. So I was using nonverbal communication, which works out amazingly, like probably 75% of the time. The first time that I started doing this, the guy went into his like into the back of his boat and pulled out a rope and handed it to me. And I was like, oh, okay, that's very nice, sir, but I have my own rope. I actually don't need yours. How do I communicate that? So then I like decided to like pick the rope on my own kayak up, show it to him, and like make that motion as if I were to tie it around his ship. And he was like, oh yeah, of course, that's fine. Like I imagine that's what he's saying. So it all worked out. And the sort of cherry on top of everything with that story is that as soon as I started snorkeling in the water near their boat, a couple of the guys on that fishing boat started throwing little slices of melon into the water so that all of the fish would swarm up at once. So I got this amazing experience with this huge school of fish like around me, because these guys on the boat were like, oh, here, let's help this like, you know, foreigner out and like throw some fruit in the water. It was amazing. And I totally did not use my words like at all. So does that help answer the whole question? Cool.
Yeah. For me, just to touch on the language barrier, and Ginger knows this because Ginger and I have been to multiple countries together. I speak multiple languages horribly. So
he's not exaggerating.
I know like about 3 words of German and no words of Thai. And you know, I've been to 22 countries. So the thing is that I think language, you'll find, is knowing the language is very overrated. And even when it comes to communication, words only make up like 7% of communication. So things like vibe, things like energy, things like being friendly, that really makes a difference. And from traveling, you're going to find that most people in the world are very, very friendly. And if you speak English more than you would ever imagine, you're going to be fine. You know, I just get really good at doing things like pointing and being, this is my best way to communicate. I'm like, you're talking about. When I travel, I'm like this most of the time. You know, so I think here's the thing. Most of the time, we overestimate what's really going to go on. So when you travel to a foreign country, you think, oh, I don't speak the language, I'm not going to be able to get around. And you'll be fine. If you speak English, you'll be fine. But you have to go experience that and use that as part of the adventure. Oh, what's up, Haviz? That's awesome, man. He's from my hometown.
Nice.
Okay, so there's been a couple questions.
Oh my God, I know him too. Yay, hi.
Okay, cool. There's a couple questions. I just want to make sure I hit these.
Yeah, Nick had a question.
Yeah, okay, Thomas had one. He asked it earlier. What are some good places to meet new teenage friends?
Oh, interesting. That's a great question. So I'm going to date myself here. I'm not a teenager. Surprise. To meet teenage friends. I wonder if you could join meetups that are specific to something that, like, you know, your age group really likes. Like, you could potentially even join a Pokemon Go meetup in Berlin, you know. And there's going to be people from all ages, but I would be willing to bet that several of the people who would go to that would be teenagers. The other thing would be,
I think after school programs are really good. Like,
depends where you are.
After school programs, depending on the country you're in, finding a sport, rock climbing gyms. I also think, you know, things like using communities online, whether it's stop gaming or, you know, doing something like, you know, learning programming and then joining forums where they talk about programming. Like, you can use a lot of communities online to kind of facilitate that. And then the thing is, you know, if you're a teenager, it's good to have some friends that are your age. But what you're going to find is as you get older, most of your friends, like my friends now, so I'm 28, my friends now range from everything from like 16 years old, which feels a bit weird, but you know, you guys are my friends, so I know there's some younger people there, as high as like, I have friends that are 40, 50 plus. Yeah. So once you're no longer a teenager, your friend group really expands. And so what I would just kind of encourage you to do is try to find friends who have similar values to you. Try to find friends who have passions. And in order to do that, you need to find what those passions are yourself, and then put yourself in situations to find them. So yeah, that's what I would kind of focus on.
I would
And
also
there was
add,
another question.
hang on, before we move to that next one, I know you spent many years in like the club scene in Calgary in your teenage years, and you did all of that sober. And so one thing that a lot of people associate with travel is that people are just going out and getting like crazy drunk and just like whatever. And that's not how you have to do travel. Like if you stay in a hostel and there are a bunch of other teenagers or like early 20 somethings there, that is likely what a lot of them will be doing, is like getting trashed. You don't have to do that. Now, one thing that Cam has done is actually put himself out there in a way that was sort of experimental. Like, let's go and see how a night at a dance club would feel if, number one, I know I'm not a great dancer, and number two, I'm not drinking like everyone else is. Like, what kind of a challenge would that be for me, and how could I actually grow in my self-confidence to be totally comfortable in that environment? And you could do that and literally just go and hang out and see a show. Like, in Europe especially, drinking age is 18. In some places it's 16, like in Germany for beer and things that aren't hard. So if you are interested in that, like, that is something that people can do legally. Now, the other thing I wanted to say was, remember that you're actually the special one. You're the interesting one. So you're the one who's not from there. And if you're planting yourself into this new culture and you go and start conversations with people, very often you can literally just say, hey, I'm not from here. I'm visiting for 2 weeks, or I'm visiting for 5 days. I've never been here before. I'm like, I love it here. And automatically people are like, oh, where are you from? Like, what are you doing in life? Like, what are you all about? And they get a chance to like be excited that something new is in their life. You're the new thing in their life, is what I'm trying to say. Does that make sense?
Yep, exactly.
Cool.
And I think, something really important to touch on, a point a question that was brought up is, you want to think about doing these different things, you want to think of going to new environments as a place of challenging your comfort zone. And so Ginger did this really awesome video. We did this video in Mexico on getting out of your comfort zone. So go watch that video. But you want to try to find ways, even if it's going to eat alone, if it's going for a walk, if that's an easier thing at first, finding ways to challenge your comfort zone. For me, when I go for lunch by myself, like, yeah, I'm hungry and that's great. Doing it more as a way to push my comfort zone to help me grow. And when you start to look at your life from a place of, how can I grow? How can I put myself in situations where I have no choice but to grow? That's really where the game changes, because now you're growing, but you're also interacting with your life in a different way, because you're looking for ways to grow. And having a growth mindset is one of the most valuable things that you can have, because ultimately, life, and whether you have social anxiety, whether you have poor social skills, whether you're gaming all the time, like, the whole point of what we're doing here in our community is all about trying to grow and just become better and live a more meaningful life. And travel's been a big part of that. So I'm going to take just a couple more questions, and then I'm going to bring it back to Ginger. So there was a question about staying safe. Okay, we'll touch on that one. There was another one. Where was it? I don't. Okay, so to stay safe, especially for food, like, sometimes that happens. When I was in Bali, I got for an entire week, and that just happens sometimes. There's a few guidelines you want to have, like, don't drink the water, like, buy bottled water. Try to make sure your vegetables are cooked, like, all that stuff. So, sometimes you might get sick, and that's okay. It's not the end of the world. But Ginger, what tips do you have for people to avoid getting sick?
So I typed it in the comments already in the chat box, so you guys can just go and look it up. I really, really, really love using probiotics, especially if I'm in an area of the world where I know it's more likely that I'll get food poisoning. And unfortunately, it's something that I only discovered pretty recently. So I could have saved myself a ton of pain and days out of commission had I actually known this earlier. So I really want you guys to take this to heart. Find a really good, high quality probiotic with like billions of strains in it, right? And that's going to be something that totally keeps your gastrointestinal tract healthy, so that even if your immune system is compromised while you're traveling by, let's say it's a parasite, well, hopefully not a parasite, let's say it's something like bacteria related in the food, this is going to be like raising your immune system up. It's going to help like everything just stay working digestive wise. And let me scroll down here. And what else did I say? Oh yeah, and then of course, like the first thing that you can do, aside from taking those just to like create a baseline of health for yourself, is to avoid something or anything like water, unwashed fruit, ice cubes, things like that, that will probably carry different bacteria than what your system is used to. One thing to watch out for, I've heard this, I have not personally experienced this, in some countries people will take bottled water that like has already been drunk, and then actually like take those bottles out of the trash, refill them with new water, and then like kind of glue shut the little twist cap. So you just want to watch out for it. Like, does it really look legit or not? And if it doesn't, then like best bet might be to just wait until you can find something that really is safe and like actually sealed. So I'm seeing a couple other questions.
Yeah, so I have been to Spain. I love Spain. I went to Barcelona.
Me
I went to
too.
Madrid.
Spain
I
rocks.
personally liked Madrid better. Barcelona is beautiful
What?
though. Like beautiful.
No way. Barcelona is way better than Madrid. Sorry.
We can agree to disagree, but I love Spain. And we only have a couple minutes left. I got to go to the gym in like 7 minutes. So Ginger,
Yes.
money is always a big part of traveling, and people are like, I don't have the money or I don't have the time. And so, you know, what are some of the tips that you have? And then I also know, you know, for you guys, one thing I've shared is that, you know, when you quit gaming, that's only the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many other areas of your life you need to focus on. You need to focus on things like personal development, social skills. You need to focus on things like traveling and expanding your horizons. You need to focus on dating, finding, you know, business, or trying to like find passion and purpose in life. There's all these different areas. And for me, as much as, you know, I have personal experience with this, I'm not necessarily going to build a bunch of programs to be able to fulfill all these different areas. Christian, we'll get to that question here right away. I'm not going to be able to build programs to help with every single one of these areas, because there's other people I know, and that's one reason why I've been bringing on some guests to the YouTube channel, like Ginger and my buddy Kinja Dixon. That video was off the hook. And I'm bringing out on a bunch of friends here in October to be able to expose you guys to other people who are doing really cool things in the world and really helping people live a great life, for you to then have the opportunity to, you know, either work with them or learn from them, if that's something that you want. And so Ginger's going to talk a bit about, you know, what happens if you don't have money, what happens if you don't have time. Are you able to do things like work away or study abroad? And she also has a course that you guys will be able to check out if you want, and only if you want. And we're doing something special today, which is for our
Yo, Cam, you totally cut out there.
course
Do you want to like rewind a second?
over the next week. Am I good now?
Yes.
Am I good now?
Yeah.
I got a phone call. I think that might have been it. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay, yeah. So just quickly, Ginger's going to tell us about a program that she has, and if anyone wants to purchase it, you know, that's totally your own choice. And 50% of the proceeds are going to go to building this clean water well that we're building as a community in Tanzania. So it's not just the program that's going to be awesome, but also supporting a great cause. So Ginger's going to tell us a bit about that, and we're going to try to answer any remaining questions.
Awesome. Thanks so much for all of your questions, you guys. I've been trying to like type and like listen at the same time. This is so great. All of you, like I just so appreciate you guys being here, spending some time, and being interested in traveling, even if it's still something that's scary for you. I personally would invite you to check out the course that I've created that will answer most, if not all, of the questions that we've covered today, and also the ones that we haven't covered. It's called the Travel Savvy e-course. And of course, like only check it out if you're actually interested in it. But if you are serious about like taking on your life in a new way and actually adventuring, you know, like going out there and exploring, this is one way that it condenses all of my knowledge from like being in 27 different countries and living in 3 different countries and speaking 4 different languages. Like it just condenses it, and like you can just look, boom, 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 all the questions answered. And within a week, you can be prepped for your next international trip. So, or whatever adventure you choose to take on. It doesn't have to be out of the country. So yeah, does that help, Kim?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And what do you think about things like I don't have time or I don't have money?
Yeah, so everyone has those conversations. What I would say to that is it's all about your priorities. So the second I started making travel a priority for me, I started deprioritizing other things in my life that I saw were actually in conflict with my desire to travel. So for instance, I started applying for, like looked for money sources that already exist. I applied for grants, I applied for fellowships. I ended up working in Germany for 3 years. The first year was on a grant that they paid me to be there. The second and third years, I was working a full-time job. They paid me to be there. And just like other little things that I have done, definitely, you know, checking out woofing is a great idea. That's worldwide opportunities on organic farms. That'll get you out in nature, get your hands dirty, and like have you creating something literally like that people can eat and use. And then you get free room and free board by staying with those farms all around the world. A lot of my friends have done it. I personally haven't, but they've said amazing things, so I'm very confident in recommending it. The other thing that you can do, and this is also for guys, is you can become an au pair, and that's spelled A-U space P-A-I-R, au pair. And that's a type of nanny babysitter, but you actually end up living with a family, and they will pay you a stipend, pay for your health insurance. Sometimes they'll pay for your flight to and from the country. And normally you're only working part-time. I did that for 2 months as a sort of bridge job between the Fulbright grant that I was on to teach English for that first year in Germany and the full-time job that I ended up getting. And I worked 20 hours a week, and the rest of the time was totally my time. Got 500 euros a month, had my food and housing paid for. I could travel. It was great. So there are a lot of ways to do it where if you prioritize looking for solutions rather than listening to the conversation in your head that's telling you, I can't do this because of time, I can't do this because of money, you're going to find the solutions. And I outline a ton of those solutions in the course itself. And if you choose to buy the course, there's actually also a guide that I'll send you to all of the grants and fellowships and scholarships that I've ever used and found that other people have used to actually be paid to travel abroad. So that's pretty cool as well.
Yeah, and just if you guys aren't seeing the chat, you guys can learn about the course by going to gamequiz.com/ginger, and you can learn all about that. And of course, no pressure at all. I just want to kind of give you guys the opportunity to learn more about different areas of your life. And the chance of me ever making a course on traveling is about 0%, just because I'm really trying to focus on just making the best stuff for gaming, and then using some of my friends who are absolutely amazing. You know, Ginger and I, like, we have a very personal relationship. We're very good friends.
Yeah.
And I believe in her stuff a lot. She actually had a really big impact on me traveling because I met her when I was just at the very beginning of my journey traveling. And I wouldn't have traveled for 3 years nomadically without a house or an apartment, couch surfing all over the place, if it wasn't for my relationship with Ginger. So I'm super thankful for her. And she has a lot of great stuff for you guys. So go check that out, gamequiz.com/ginger. You can learn more about that. And then 50% goes to our trip to Tanzania, which is going to be in a really amazing cause to build a clean water well. So I promise I would answer a couple quick questions, and then I got to run because I got to go to the gym. So Josh, or Julio, you had a question about cell phones. Josh, I'll answer that one as well. So Julio, you had a question about cell phones. Here's what I do. I have a phone that is unlocked.
Same.
And when I get into a new country, I buy a SIM card. Usually in most countries they're pretty cheap. And then I get a SIM card, so then I have like Wi-Fi and internet and the opportunity to call people if I need to. Most of the time when I'm traveling, I just use like data so that I can access like Skype, or Facebook. So I personally, that's how I do it, and it ends up being really easy. I think Ginger does the same thing. And
I
then
do.
Josh, you answer the question, and I'm going to let kind of Ginger take this one
Sure.
about, so Josh went on a vacation and he came back and he fell back into unhealthy lifestyle. Any thoughts on, how you can kind of, when you develop good habits when you're traveling, how you can bring that back when you're back home?
I love this question because it's totally all what the traveler's mindset is about, right? Because it's a mindset. It doesn't leave when you leave that country. It's like it's in your mind, it's in your body, it's in your being and your embodiment. So what does that mean, and how do you actually like use that? So notice, and you might even keep a travel journal. I do that sometimes as well. I'll literally like write down what things that I've uncovered or discovered on my trip are things that I want to bring back with me into my daily life. And then I'll actually like either refer back to or like keep the page open in my journal, like on my desk or right next to my bed, so that in the morning I can see that when I wake up. Or I might just tell a lot of people about my new choice and they'll hold me to it. So I'm fortunate to have a really great community of people who are standing for me to be like the greatest person that I can be. And that's something that I built up. So I might tell my boyfriend, I might tell the people who are my coaches, I'll tell Cam, I'll tell my closest friends, like, you guys, this is what I discovered. And like, this is how I want to live my life now. And like, this is what I'm committed to. And then Cam can know and call me out on it when he sees me doing something different or doing the old thing that I used to do. And that's so helpful because you know that it's coming from love. You know that it's totally like in alignment with what you say you want for yourself. And it's just a super powerful way to hold yourself to something that maybe you discovered when you're traveling, but want to bring back into your everyday life. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, Josh, the biggest thing I would encourage you to think about is that mindset I talked about of travel isn't something different than my real life. I might be in a different place, but it's still me. And it's no different if I'm in the US, if I'm in California, if I'm in LA, if I'm in Berlin, no matter where I am, Bali, no matter what, I still have the same person, which is myself, in all of those places. And I should be approaching my day having the same mindsets, having the same habits that help me succeed no matter where I go. Hey, what's up, Todd? And so that's just what I would encourage you to think about. And most importantly, it's okay that you had that trip and you came back and things were a bit off. That's okay.
Totally.
What you need to do is learn from that. And just the fact that you have the awareness where you notice that makes a really big difference. And so that's like, it's okay. This whole journey is all about learning that like, it doesn't matter if you're perfect. It just matters if you're focused on growing and you have a growth mindset. And that really makes a difference. I'll answer last question to my homie from my hometown. What I do is I do very little planning for my trips. And so basically what I do is like, I plan the days I'm going to be there. I'm going to fly into this city on this day. I'm going to have, a hostel or stay with this friend for a couple days. And then after that, it's very spontaneous. I go with the flow. I go based on like what's exciting and what feels good to me. I had a friend who came to Bali when I was there, and she had literally planned like 18 activities every single day for like 3 months. And you could say, oh, we have our first troll. That's so cute.
Trolls.
Block.
Hi.
This is my house. And so the thing is that when you travel, it's so much of the experience that you're going to have is due to the spontaneity that happens.
Yeah.
But if you plan everything, then you'll have a really difficult time having that spontaneity. So I just recommend like plan a little bit so you're not like completely lost. But beyond that, just try to focus on like going with the flow. I posted the link there, and I got to run to the gym.
Oh, there's so much.
These pipes don't grow themselves.
Haha.
But
Yeah,
I'm on top of it. But dude, I just want to say, guys, that I am really grateful for you guys being here. I've never done a live stream before, and Ginger was like, "Hey, we should do a live stream," and I was like, "Sweet." So I'm really stoked that you guys really like this, and I'm definitely encouraged to do a lot more of them. So yeah, definitely check out Ginger's course if you guys want. If you guys have any questions, reach out.
Totally.
I'll do more live streams for sure, 100%. Especially just the interaction with you guys in the chat was awesome.
It's so fun. You guys are seriously like awesome human beings. I wish I could like meet you in person. I mean, I know I can. We'll have to do a meetup sometime. So
yeah, what we're gonna do maybe next year, just to give you guys an exclusive kind of like preview, is I want to do 2 live events, one in Europe and one in the US.
Yeah.
And have it like be a 1 or 2 day event where we bring the community together, and maybe I bring some of my friends who are really good at speaking on different topics, and yeah, do something like that. So that's something I'm working on behind the scenes, but really appreciate you guys. And if you guys have any other questions, try to post them in the comments after the video, and we'll try to get in there and work on it, and we'll do some more streams, but really appreciate you guys taking the time. What's up from Brazil? We love our Brazilian members. And yeah, we'll talk to you guys soon.
Sounds good. Bye, guys. Thanks, Cam.
I'm going to stop this now. See you guys.
Okay. Bye.